the disappearance of the Palmer's brother. If you found this story as gripping as we did, don't forget to hit that like button and share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more stories of crimes, mystery, and the unthinkable. In today's world, it feels as though we are never truly alone. People are always near, whether in bustling cities or quiet suburban neighborhoods. It's rare to find a place untouched by the hum of civilization. However, there is one place where the vastness of nature still holds its power over mankind, where the human footprint remains a faint mark in the great expanse of wilderness. Alaska, the last frontier, is a land of mystery, grandeur, and untamed beauty, a place where isolation still exists in its truest sense. But what happens when people, bound by blood, disappear into the great unknown, vanishing without a trace? In the years just before the turn of the millennium, the Palmer family's peaceful existence in Wasilla, Alaska, would be turned upside down by a tragedy that would eventually become as strange as it was heart-wrenching. The family of men, Chris, Chucky, Michael, and their sister Hannah, had grown up in the wild beauty of the Alaskan landscape. Their lives were filled with the joy of fishing, hiking, and snowmobiling, as they embraced the rugged, adventurous lifestyle that the last frontier had to offer. Little did they know, this same wilderness would soon claim not one, but two of their own. It all began on the summer night of June 3, 1999. 16-year-old Michael Palmer, like many teenagers, was enjoying the freedom of summer. He spent the evening at a friend's house, hanging out with friends, visiting parties, and indulging in the usual mischief of adolescence. As the night wore on, Michael and his friends, no strangers to the long, winding roads of Alaska, decided to ride their bicycles back to the house where Michael had been staying. The group of boys was in high spirits, chatting and laughing as they pedaled through the cool night air. The 9-mile journey back should have been a simple one. Michael, known for his athleticism, was the last in the line of cyclists, but when they reached the house, he was nowhere to be found. At first, the boys assumed Michael had decided to make his way home instead of staying the night. But by morning, when Michael had still not returned, panic began to set in. His friends called the authorities, and a search quickly began. It wasn't long before the searchers found Michael's bike, abandoned by the river. But the river was shallow, and there were no signs of a struggle. The police were quick to rule out the possibility of drowning. Michael was an experienced swimmer, and the river's current wasn't strong enough to sweep him away. But things only grew stranger from there. Just 200 yards away from the river, Michael's shoes were found wet but neatly placed side by side, as if he had intentionally left them behind. The odd placement of the shoes, with no signs of a struggle, led some to believe Michael had not been taken by force, but had left them behind willingly. Had he been trying to escape something, or was he simply lost? With no clear evidence pointing to foul play, the police turned to Michael's friends and the boys who had been involved in a fight earlier that evening. They conducted interviews and polygraph tests, but all the boys passed without issue. If there was foul play, it seemed unlikely that any of Michael's friends were involved, at least. That's what the investigation suggested. Yet, despite the search efforts and interviews, Michael Palmer had simply vanished without a trace, as if swallowed by the Alaskan wilderness itself. For years, the Palmer family struggled with the painful uncertainty of Michael's disappearance. Theories swirled around town, some suggesting he had been abducted, others that he had wandered off into the wild and succumbed to the harsh environment. In the hearts of his family, however, Michael was never forgotten. They clung to the hope that one day some sign would emerge, some clue that would explain what had happened to their son and brother. As the years passed, the other Palmer children grew up, married, and started their own families, but the hole left by Michael's absence was never filled. His disappearance had become a part of Alaskan lore, an eerie mystery that refused to be solved. But for the Palmer family, it remained a painful, unresolved chapter in their lives. Nearly 11 years after Michael's disappearance, tragedy struck again. Charles Chucky Palmer, Michael's older brother, disappeared under eerily similar circumstances. Chucky, now 31, had joined his brother Chris and some friends on a snowmobiling trip in the Bald Mountain area just outside of Wasilla. Alaska's harsh winters make snowmobiling a popular winter sport, and spring was fast approaching, making this one of the last opportunities for the season. But what began as a fun outing soon took a devastating turn. The trip started uneventfully, with Chris leading the way, as he was the more experienced snowmobiler. However, just before they set off, Chris's snowmobile broke down, forcing him to stay behind. He watched as Chucky, the least experienced of the group, fell behind and brought up the rear of the convoy. By midday, the group realized something was wrong. Chucky was missing. His friends retraced their steps and began searching for him, but as time passed and the hours dragged on, it became apparent that something was very wrong. The search efforts intensified, and soon professional search teams were dispatched. But despite the snow and low visibility, the rescue teams found no trace of Chucky. The only clue was his snowmobile, abandoned off the main trail in a snowdrift with no footprints around it. In a place covered by more than 2 feet of fresh snow, there was no sign of where Chucky had gone or what had happened to him. As the snow began to melt, the search continued, but there was still no sign of Chucky, no body, no further clues. It was as though Bald Mountain had swallowed him whole. Despite all the efforts, Chucky Palmer had disappeared without a trace. Just like his younger brother Michael, the disappearance of Chucky Palmer seemed incomprehensible to those who knew the Palmer family. How could it happen again? How could 2 brothers vanish in such a strange and inexplicable manner? The idea that something so tragic could strike twice in one family was almost unfathomable. Yet for the Palmer family, this was the devastating reality they were forced to face. Chris Palmer, the oldest brother, best summed up the family's feelings when he spoke to reporters after Chucky's disappearance. "I never thought I'd have to deal with this shit ever again." The pain of losing one brother was unimaginable. Losing 2 in such mysterious circumstances felt like a cruel twist of fate. The family was left to wonder, what had happened to Michael? What had happened to Chucky? Had they been victims of foul play, or was it something more sinister, something tied to the wild, untamed land that had always been their home? Theories and rumors swirled, but no answers were ever found. As the years passed, the Palmer family remained in a state of limbo, torn between the hope that one day they might find closure and the painful realization that they might never know what happened to their beloved brothers. In the vastness of Alaska, where the wilderness can consume all who venture too far, the Palmer brothers' disappearances serve as a chilling reminder of just how easily people can vanish into the unknown. To this day, the mystery of Michael and Chucky Palmer remains unsolved. Theories range from tragic accidents to bizarre, unexplainable events. But one thing is certain, their disappearances have left a mark on the history of Alaska. Lightning, as they say, doesn't strike twice. But for the Palmer family, that old adage doesn't seem to hold true. The wilderness of Alaska is vast, and its secrets are many. The story of the Palmer brothers is just one of the countless mysteries that continue to unfold in this untamed land. And as long as people continue to disappear into the wild, Alaska's dark frontier will remain a place where the unknown still has the power to claim those who venture too far and never return.